How my childhood trauma protected me from becoming a hoe. Protected me from becoming a hoe. And I especially want to make this video for the male community because I want you guys to have some perspective, okay? And there's a lot of things us ladies don't talk about. And I feel like it's because, when you're in a particular situation, like if you're a man, if you're a woman, you're just used to the life of being a man or used to the life of being a woman. So you don't necessarily feel the need to explain anything about it that's different to the opposite gender, if that makes sense. But one thing that I've stuck out to me hugely is just this whole like body count, women sleeping with lots of guys struggling to even get girls and all this thing. And I realized that we have such a different experience as men and women when it comes to this type of stuff. And I'm going to share stories with you guys from me personally, because as far as what has happened, it is a miracle I did not turn out to be a hoe. Not because I was out here loving sex. It's actually the opposite. For the majority of my life, I felt the opposite due to childhood trauma and whatnot and what have you, which I'm going to get into, right? And that's why I'm thinking, thank God that this happened, because it protected me. And I don't know how I would feel, like, to be honest with you guys. This is what I was thinking. I don't know how I would feel having not had that, lived a life like a lot of other people have lived up until the life of being my age, a 25-year-old woman, and then realizing and gaining all the wisdom and knowledge I have now. I would have a really hard time like accepting that I really was behaving like this for the duration of my life, if you know what I mean. But I'm going to share some stories because I want you guys to understand something. Like, sometimes the way you perceive somebody is not the reality that they're actually living in, or the reality that actually exists. So I will say this, right, from my perspective. Always, people have assumed, particularly in the male community tends to assume that I'm like out here hoeing about, right? And I know this because I remember in school, this used to happen in school. In school, like literally through all of school to the end of high school and whatnot, right? People would assume that like there would be rumors that would go around about me like doing things with people, and I did nothing with no one. In all of my education to high school, I did nothing with no one. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. You know what I'm saying? To the extent that, let me tell you how truthful this was. So when now I've left high school and I got into this relationship, I wouldn't say I take it seriously because I was only 16 and it was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because obviously, yeah, school systems work differently, by the way, guys, in the UK. So that's why, yeah. Anyway, so I was in this relationship. I wasn't taking it that seriously, right? Now, I did take it seriously, but it wasn't serious, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I was with this dude. It'd been like, I don't know how long we've been together or whatever. And like probably like a month. And he then reveals that basically part of the reason he wanted to be with me in the first place is because his whole friend group had basically lied and said I'd done all this ABCD with all of them. And I was like, you guys don't even know, like at that stage of my life, right? At that stage of my life at 16 years old, I remember so well. First of all, I wanted to save myself for marriage. So I was not hoeing about. I was dating to marry at 16. Yes, I was, okay? Another thing that people would be like, there's no way she was doing that. She was the because the other problem is, guys, I'm very like open-minded. I'm very open-minded, and I'm not one of those people who finds it hard to talk about topics. So I can easily talk about sex. Like, I'm not one of those who's like, oh my gosh, like oh my gosh, I can't talk about sex like with this because it's just taboo. Like, I was never like that. I was always just fascinated. I always was into sex education as well, also because I knew that looking around at what I was seeing around me, I was like, one of us needs to know what to do, even if I'm not doing the do, if you know what I'm saying. So I was like properly into sex education. Also because of what I'd been through, like, childhood trauma, sexual abuse and all that type of stuff. That also led me to want to kind of like wrap my head around this thing, because I could never foresee. The reason why I was never like having sex with anybody, not that I didn't want to, but it was like, first of all, I don't want anybody to ever have to see me naked, for starters. So I was like, I can't envision getting naked, right, in front of a man, right, for starters, or a boy in those days. But number two, I can't envision how this is even going to be an enjoyable situation. Like, that was where I was at. So when people are out here acting like I'm hoeing about, like enjoying living my best life in my hoe phase, right, hot girl summering, I was literally so far from that. I was like so down and like having zero self-esteem. And so that's why I'm saying as well that sometimes just because of the way you perceive somebody, and it's funny because that doesn't mean that that's the reality of what's actually happening. Because even those times, guys, like growing up, like I'm a pastor's child as well. This is where it gets deep, right? And let me tell you something. It only gets worse from there, because not only now do I always have these advances being made, because this happens to me a lot, guys. This is why I don't date right now. The reason why I fundamentally don't date is because I've realized that guys, like, there's a lot of guys. This is why when I see guys say online, like, oh, you know, it's hard for us guys to speak to girls, like girls don't give us attention. I'm like, you don't realize how many guys are making moves and are not having a problem. Like, there are so many of them. It is shocking. It's scary to me how often these types of things have happened my whole life. I'm going to do a whole separate video, by the way, about the number of guys who would try to groom me essentially when I was younger, because I've realized now, obviously as in adulthood, that 18-year-old talking to me who's a 13-year-old is inappropriate. A 21-year-old talking to me who's a 16-year-old is inappropriate. Not that they weren't saying anything about that at the time. So that's going to be another whole video. So I want you guys to understand here that these are all the things that are being fired at me as a young, impressionable, naive woman, right? Then on top of that, I'm a pastor's child. So everywhere I'm going, we're meeting different pastors' families, and pastors have sons. And pastors' sons, a lot of the time, are very handsome, let me tell you. And let me tell you something else about these pastors' sons, or even just other men in church in general. Do you think that they hold back either, like from anybody else? Absolutely not. As soon as the adults have left the room, as soon as the parents have gone, as soon as these people get me alone, guys, I'll tell you a story, right? When I was probably around 16 as well, right? So this is what's being fired at me, right? Thank God I've got issues, okay? Because otherwise, you know. So this is what happens to me. There was this guy, I remember, there was this guy in church, and I did think he was good looking. I never told him, and I never told anybody, because I know that I just had the wisdom not to tell guys you think they're good looking, because that is like a green light to most guys. Like, okay, yeah, she's ready kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's also why sometimes us girls don't compliment you guys, by the way, because sometimes I would love to compliment guys a lot who I see sometimes and be like, you know what, you're so handsome. And I know that would mean a lot. But also, I don't want you to now start saying, oh, because sometimes it then goes downhill, because then the guys are like, oh, well, you said I was handsome, so how are you going to say you're not interested, like you're not serious? And then it just becomes the whole thing. It's like, sir, I just wanted to compliment you. Can I just compliment you and go on with my day? You know what I mean? Anyway, so let me tell you guys this story. So, yeah, so we were doing this church thing, and it was my dad's church thing. And my dad, my family doesn't even know this story, right? So my we all went to start a new church somewhere, right? Because this is a normal thing. This is why I've also went around the world, because we were going around planting churches and things, right? That's why I've lived in so many countries, yada yada yada. So we were planting this church, right? And we were staying in this hotel for a couple of weeks while we got everything. Well, not a couple of weeks. What am I saying? We were there for like a weekend. Anyway, I was there for the weekend, and so the service had started, and one of the other aunties in church asked me if I could go knock on her knock on her hotel room door, right? To alert her son that the service has started. And I'm obviously naive, ignorant, like, sure, I don't mind, you know, I like to help out, I like to be helpful. And it was fun, us all doing this, like, starting a church thing. So I've gone to this guy's door. I've knocked on the door, and I just shout through the door, like, he's like, who is it? And I was like, oh yeah, it's just Yasha. The service is starting. Your mum sent me to like let you know, right? Because the actual service was happening in one of the like conference areas in the hotel, and then we were all staying in the actual rooms in the hotel, right? Tell guys, do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? This guy opens the door and pushes me up against the wall and tries to kiss me, like goes straight in to kiss me. I was like, excuse me? Like, this is something straight out of 50 Shades of Grey. Do you understand? And I'm like 16. I'm like 16 years old. Like, and this guy, again, older than me. Definitely inappropriate. I did think he was super handsome. But again, like I said, I didn't say that. Also, I didn't even ever think there was going to be... First of all, I was never even thinking about if I had a chance with people. Because I was just like, I have a chance with no one, because no one's going to want you anyway. Because who wants you? Like, no one wants you. Like, that's where I was mentally. So... that's why when people make all these assumptions about me to this day, and I'm like, do you know how recent it is that I even like, you know? And so anyway, so that's what happened. Obviously never told anybody about that, right? And I was like, no, like, and I mean, when I say he went to kiss me, he actually like put his face on my face, and I literally had to like push him away. And I can't tell you guys how many times it's happened to me as well. Very uncomfortable. Makes me super uncomfortable. Also, not to mention the fact, when I was in school, that's another thing that used to happen, you know, guys being like super inappropriate, like trying to like get you to do stuff, like touch your this, put their hands up your skirt, grabbing your boobs, because I have always had big boobs as well. So that's the other thing, right? So that was the other problem that I had, was that I had boobs like way early. Like, I don't even remember not having boobs. I was already like a B cup at like 10 or something ridiculous, something stupid, right? So there was that as well. So then there's all this stuff happening, right? And then there's all these scenarios as well. Like I said, so this is in church, right? So that's in church. Then we've got the stuff happening like in school. We've got the online, I'm just there trying to talk to my friends on MSN about like nonsense, right? Whatever nonsense me and my girlfriends are like talking about. I've got guys like approaching me on Facebook saying like, oh, you look, oh, like, yeah, no, you look, you're so mature for your age, like, oh, you're so this and you're so that, right? Trying to again get in there with me as well. Not to mention all the boys now, they're all getting a little bit, you know, their hormones are kicking in. So it's not a good recipe for somebody like me who's very, you know, comfortable and charismatic. I would call myself charismatic, you know what I'm saying? And so then there's that, and then there's like fast forward to adult working life now, right? And this is why I don't date again, right? Because even the other day I was in a situation, not the other, yeah, actually was the other day, it was this year. So I was like, I've been working not in the entertainment industry, because that's the worst one, by the way. Listen, people are hoeing about in the entertainment industry. People are really having sex to get opportunities, like more than you think. Anyway, so what was I going to say? Because I'm trying to go through this in chronological order. Oh, yes. So then I remember when I was at university. So when I was at university now, this is where things were even worse, because now I'm freely out there in the world. There are attractive men, and I was involved in sports and dance and cheerleading. Not a good combination. Even this jacket I'm wearing right now, which I keep wearing, this is actually my old sports captain jacket from university, right? So imagine that as well. So imagine this. I want you guys to think about this. Like, and in all these scenarios, it will be like everybody will leave the dance studio. I'm like the last one packing up because I decided to stretch a little bit extra. A guy's trying to make a move. It'll be like, you know, it's all, I can't even, some of these stories I can't even say, because the people will know that I'm talking about them, and I don't want the people to know that I'm talking about them. You know what I'm saying? And then there was also be the, just because I'm nice and friendly, like I noticed this as well, and thank God I gained the wisdom. Because I'm nice and friendly, I think a lot of people perceive that as flirting, which I find really interesting, because I know when I'm flirting, and my flirting is like direct. Like there's no question about if I'm actually flirting, which is why I know that I'm never flirting on purpose. But when you're nice and you're friendly and you're charismatic and you can hold a conversation, then people think that you're flirting with them, right? This happened to me last year. So last year I went to this very humble situation. I'm trying not to be too specific, because the individuals, one of the individuals in question could be watching this video. So I go to this event, I go to this barbecue, right? And it was a very humble, lovely, like I was just invited from somebody that's in my family. Like it was super wholesome. This wasn't like a party thing. This was like a family event with his children. I'm just coming because, hey, I'm available this Sunday afternoon. I've been invited. I know the people and they're really sweet, and I'd love to see how their kids are growing up. You know, one of those. I go to this barbecue, ladies and gentlemen, and there are a couple other people. Like I didn't really expect to see anybody like in my age range of like either peership or romantic relationship or anything like that, because it was like older generation and the younger generation. So I was kind of sitting in the middle. I was just kind of there to vibe, eat some barbecued food, because barbecue food is my favorite, and vibe, you know what I'm saying, and have some time off. So anyway, there's a few people I didn't expect to see there. We're all vibing. There's these two guys, and they've both come with girls, right? They've both come with girls. So I'm thinking this is great, because when these situations happen, I love them, because I feel safer, because I'm like, well, they're in relationships, so this is all gonna be purely platonic. We're all gonna enjoy it. Obviously, I always like build friendships with women first, then before the men in general. I don't really build friendships with men like that anyway, but for the reasons of what I'm talking about in this video. And so I'm like more focusing on building relationships with the ladies, but we're all kind of building relationships together. We're all talking, and it's all well and good and fun. And I'm just thinking, this is all lovely, innocent. This is me last year. Like this isn't a year ago. This is like within a year, right? From right now, from the moment of me saying this, right? So we're just chilling. And bearing in mind, like I have not gone out of my way to look cute this day. I'm not come to look cute. I've come to look wholesome and just like family and just, you know. So anyway, we were all talking this, that, and the other, and we all left. One of them works, you know, like in the entertainment industry. So we were like, he was like, oh, I would love to like have you involved with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, after this scenario, one of them, this is these two guys who are in a relationship, yeah? One of them then corners me and makes a move. When I say makes a move, do you want to know when I say he makes a move? He put his hand up my skirt. Ladies and gentlemen, his hand up my skirt. Are you hearing this? Are you hearing what I'm telling you right now? And do you know what he said out of his mouth? Listen, if there's kids watching, don't watch this part of the video. This is what I'm saying. I go through the craziest stuff and I never have anybody to freaking tell that this is what I'm going through. So anyway, I'll just be talking about with the Lord. He says to me, I want to taste you. I was like, what? Like, we were just, oh, by the way, had a baby as well. I was just talking to his baby, right? Newborn. What is happening in this world? Other dude now. I'm like, another time I was like, you know, oh yeah, so basically he was doing an event and he wanted to hire dancers and he wanted me to bring my dancers and choreograph for this event for like his album launch, you know, one of those album launch things. And I was like, cool, we're chopping it up, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, I think the second or third time we met to discuss all of this stuff. And he did what all guys start to do when they decided they're making a move, and he starts trying to move towards me. Now, obviously, I literally left and I was like, listen, we're never going to be able to work together. I don't do this. Like, this isn't how this is going to work. Also, what happened to who know? Also, she then ends up calling me, talking about what's going on with you and him. And I was like, you and us, we were all together. Like, you saw us all talk about this together. You saw everything that happened together. It all happened together. We were all together. He made a move. I wasn't expecting that. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And also in the entertainment industry, this is the other thing, the entertainment industry, everybody's just like, you can't trust anybody, like literally. So this is just some months ago. This is me not dating. This is me on a random Sunday afternoon. I've not gone out clubbing. I'm not gone out dressed like that. I haven't gone out, like, I'm not going out like seducing guys. I'm not fluttering my eyelashes. I'm not, do you know what I'm saying? Talking in a seductive way or nothing. I am just living my life at a little cute home family barbecue, right? And that's 2 bodies. That's quick 2 bodies, essentially, I could have just gained in my life. And that's just one situation I'm telling you guys about. That's just one humble, simple situation that I'm telling you about. And this happens all the time to me as well, by the way. This is what happens to us ladies. We'll be in the most normal situations. Like, you'll be like, I don't know, at a work event, right? Everybody has to go to some seminar at some place and everybody's there. Somebody comes and all it takes is a corner and somebody to try and make a move on you, or this, that, and the other. Not to mention the fact I was telling you guys about the people sending me, you know, dick pics and all this and that. And I can't tell you guys how many times, it's actually crazy to me, how many times, like last year, right? Then I was like, with everything that I've been going through, that I've been offered to, like, yeah, I'll fly. I've been offered to be taken out of the country, unsolicited. I'm not dating these people. I'm not, what's the word? I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not like seeking any of this. I'm not going into any of these, I'm not talking to any of these people as though I'm even an inch interested, right? And I'm being offered like, oh yeah, well, I'll set you up here with this. Like, let's go here. Let's go. You're trying to come with me to this country for 2 weeks. Let's go for 2 weeks to so-and-so. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to participate in a lot of that, but I get why a lot of women do. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to mention, right? So I once upon a time had a personal trainer. I won't be doing that again because once again, personal trainer situation makes a move. Now, they didn't make a move in the moment, but another time when they saw me when I was out with my friends, right, and we were just doing whatever we were doing, and I was like, oh my gosh, hi, yeah, how are you? Makes a move. So it's like, where is safe in this society for me as a woman to keep my legs closed other than inside by myself? Do you guys see what I'm trying to say here? And these are just the situations that I can think of off the top of my head, right? That I've been in. And the only reason I've managed to say, the only reason that I haven't said probably yes to a lot of those scenarios, well, because I value myself and I just wouldn't want to, because the situations I'm specifically referring to, by the way, this is how you know it's crazy. The situations I'm specifically referring to are all situations where these are guys who I would potentially find attractive. Okay, so we're not talking. I've excluded the ones where it's guys who I would say are unattractive. And that's actually my point, because it's like if me turning somebody down is not even about if I find them attractive. It's like, I need to keep myself together in this life. And if not for the fact that I, you know, had all the issues I had. And I mean, to be honest with you guys, a lot of these situations, I see them for what they are now, but I didn't see them for what they were at the time. So like at the time, if I look back, maybe I could have noticed that somebody was finding me attractive or something, but then I didn't think anybody found me attractive, so I wasn't expecting to be found attractive, so I wasn't even thinking down those lines. That's why whenever somebody makes a move on me, I'm like, I can't tell you how many times I said to a guy, like, I really didn't even know that you felt that way. Like, I really didn't, like, they're like, were you not getting any vibes? It's like, I was not getting any vibes. I thought this was completely platonic. I thought this was, you know what I mean, strictly business. I thought this was whatever. You know what I'm saying? And so when people are like guys are making moves on me, I'm like, I was not thinking that. Like, that's why when people act to me like now, like, oh, you know what you're doing, like, you know what you're doing. When people, I promise you guys, I don't think I feel more annoyed when people say something to me than when people say the phrase to me, you know what you're doing. Because when I'm doing what I'm doing, trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing and I will do it on purpose. And that's why I'm like, if this is me, if this me, how I just carry myself on a day to day, is this you think is me knowing what I'm doing? And you ain't got no idea what I'm actually capable of, let me tell you. Do you see what I'm saying? And then obviously I ended up in a 5-year long relationship, or 5-ish years, you know, long relationship, which was very good because again, kept me off the market. And also that was when I kind of like over time I started to like really think about like what I really want and how it's just so much better in life to be with like one person, even if it was the wrong person, but better to be with one person. I saw the lifestyle of the ladies around me, you know, a lot of the time he'd be like, oh, you take yourself so seriously. That's the other thing. It's a lot as a woman, you know, like I sacrifice everything. Essentially, I have to sacrifice everything to be the person that to be all the good things that people like about me. I have to sacrifice everything because I'm not doing what's the norm. I understand how there's 18, like when I see that there's when I see there's 18-year-olds with just these wild, I was watching this thing of these girls talking about their body count. They were like 19, they were like 18 or something. And I was like, how is this possible? But then I'm like, I know how it's possible, because if I said yes to every single advance, if I'd gone along with every single time a guy tried to make a move, or let's say that if I'd actually done all these things I'd been accused of doing, you know, then yeah, I could probably be right up there. The only thing that was stopping me is that I was just so deep in my own issues mentally that like I just wasn't even seeing anything. Like people even say to me like, oh, you must know that you're attractive. Me. I'm like, realistically, no. Because when the thing is as well, guys, when you go through certain things, certain people's opinions don't matter. So like if you're somebody who's been through abuse, especially if the people who have abused you are like people that you're supposed to be able to trust in, for example, do you think that a random guy who I'm probably going to think is just trying to compliment me just to get into my panties anyway, do you think that's going to really make a difference to my self-esteem? Like, this is what I was saying to you guys about Kim Kardashian as well, and how like people will say, oh, she should value herself. Guys will be like, oh, she doesn't value herself, putting herself online. It's like, do you think that if her own mother is putting her out there on the internet naked, directing her sex tape, do you think that the viewpoint of one Kanye West is going to make a difference? Do you guys see what I'm saying? And that's why I talk about this stuff, guys, because I realized that, thank God I had all of these issues, by the way, but like I said, because, and I still have some now. Like I only just realized like at the end of last year that you know, there are guys who made advances at me who didn't just want, where like they actually specifically found me attractive. Because I also just used to think, yeah, every time guys would approach me and stuff, and this is how I always feel, like that's why I roll my eyes. I don't even remember half the encounters. You can, like, guys have been like, do you not remember me, like, from this and this happened? I'm like, I don't remember, because I assume that if you're trying to talk to me and you're a guy, you're trying to make a move, I'm like, you're just doing it because you just, like, it's not about me. It's nothing personal and special about me. I'm just another vagina. Like, I'm just another woman. I'm just another option. Like, there's nothing about me that stood out. Like, that's not like you were spending your day walking around and I saw you saw me and I blew you away. It's like, oh, another opportunity. Like, this is opportunity number 3,401. You know, that type of thing. I didn't even realize that I'm still breaking up that mentality right now. Like, I don't believe guys when they tell me, oh yeah, they find me specifically attractive. I don't believe it. Like, I really don't. And it's hard for me, like, to do that. And people would think the opposite, because people say, oh, but you must know that you benefit from pretty privilege. Oh, you must know that you... And also the other thing is, with my childhood trauma growing up, is I was actually made to feel very bad for a lot of things, these so-called positive things. You know, like my eyes, I've been told that, oh wow, I've got such big, huge alien eyes, you know what I mean? Like, by people, again, super close to me, who's supposed to speak, you know, positivity and life into me. And I've been told, you know, that I have, my voice is very bassy, and I have such a bassy voice for a woman, and this and this, by the same types of people. I've been told all sorts of different things. I've been called tall, even though I'm actually only 5'3.5", and I have a whole complex about that. So when I'm around men, I literally have this thing in my head where, like, you'll be like, like I said, I'm 5'3.5", but I feel 6 foot tall, because I feel it's so much in my mind that somehow my brain, like, function, like, my brain can elevate me upward. Like, and the only time I'll notice that I'm not is if I'm, like, looking in the mirror with a tall person, and then I'm looking at myself and I'm like, what the hell is your problem? Like, you've got issues, girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? But again, that was actually kind of a positive thing for me, because it always made me feel like I didn't really feel like that feminine. I kind of felt like, I actually, believe it or not, I actually felt more like a guy. I wasn't having gender dysphoria, guys. Let's just say that, okay? I wasn't having any of that, but I just didn't feel like feminine. I didn't feel feminine at all, because I felt like I had such masculine traits as a person, like my voice, my again, my height I was thinking about at the time. Also, because I'm the oldest sibling, I've got 2 younger brothers, so for the most part of us growing up, I was taller than them, and that got to me in my head, right? Because I'm like, oh, so I'm like, and you know, my dad not being around, so I was like the tallest person in the house, so that's also making me feel tall and huge and big, and I've got a deep voice, and I've got these alien eyes, and you know, this, that, and the other. Not to mention, then let's add the race factor onto it all, so like, you know, those types of issues as well. So I'm never thinking anybody, especially outside the black race, is finding me attractive anyway, right? And I didn't feel like I competed with women in my own race in the first place. So there's that portion of it as well. So like, there's all these levels to it, where, like, again, like I said, it was good because it was like a protective shield. And I also feel like it gives me the opportunity to be able to make these types of videos and explain perspectives for people, because I get it when you have these women who people will act like, seemingly there's no way that they have all these issues, and they look like this, or they feel like, and they've had that and this and the other, and it's like, but you don't know what people go through behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? And it's only because of those issues that I've actually turned out the way that I have. If not for those issues, my trauma, half of you probably wouldn't even be subscribed to my channel right now. You'll be like, she's for the streets. You'll be like, she's for the streets, excuse me. She'll be like, she's for the streets. And that's what's kind of sad about it as well, though, because I'm like, why is it, in a weird way, it's almost like, why was it that the fact that I went through everything is what kind of puts me, well, it's good, but it's also like, why is it that everything that was horrible put me in a better place today? Like, it's a good thing. I'm grateful for it. I'm actually grateful, because this is why I have a lot of grace and understanding for people. Also, my name Yashed actually means grace, just saying. I have a lot of grace for people, because I've been through a lot, and I know how it can affect the way you view yourself, the way you view others, and everything. And also, it means that I'm just a super strong person right now. So that's why I'm also not very hard to offend. Like, people try to offend me, and it's like, you like these, like, people trying to say stuff to me, like the little small haters. I'm like, do you know what I've dealt with? Do you know the level of hate that I've actually dealt with? Do you know the level of jealousy that I've actually dealt with from people that mattered to me, people that I loved? People that are called friends, people that are called family. You think that your little words of hate, like these guys in the comment section trying to talk about, oh, you're just like the guy the other day was like, sorry guys, I'm literally painting my nails, I'm so chaotic, right? But I should never, this is why I never leave the nail varnish in front. But anyway, look how cute my nails are. Anyway, yeah, so like, this guy in the comments the other day was like, just be honest, you know that you're one of those women who needs to lose weight. Under my fat women have become so fat/ugly women have become overconfident. And I was just like, you know what, do you think I care? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, guys. I just think that there's so many things that I've personally been through, and I'm grateful for them. I want to say this, I am so grateful, because I like I like my journey. I like the fact that, like, I get to be here today, and I'm not the woman who's done everything perfect, because by far I have not, guys. Listen, let me tell you something for free. I've done many things, many things that I'm not proud of. I've done many things I thought I would never do. You know what I'm saying? I've been a villain in many people's stories as well. And that's also why I don't really like to necessarily talk about specific people who've done things to me, because I feel like we're all a villain in somebody's story, right? But the point is, I'm grateful that everything that I've been through, and also the mistakes that I've made, because I've made many a mistake, even though I got a lot of things right, I got a lot of things wrong, right? And I'm being super vague again. Like, this is so irritating to me right now. Like, I'm irritating myself. Ugh, irritating. But anyway, I'm grateful that I get to be who I am today. I'm grateful that I get to sit here on YouTube, happy as anything, close to the Lord. You know, I haven't made so many mistakes that I feel completely... Actually, I still feel overcome. I still feel overwhelmed by the amount of things, mistakes I've made. I'll be lying. But I'm a work in progress. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful that God protected me from that, because I will say this, guys, if there was anything that I could have protected growing up, and this is where it gets deep, right? Well, if there's anything I could have protected if I could go back, is I would have kept my virginity. If I have any regret, it will be that. It will be that. It will be opening that box and exploring that world, even in the small extent that I did in comparison to, you know, a lot of women today. But then I also feel like part of the reason I opened that door anyway was because, like, you know, when I eventually did decide to delve into the world of adult behaviors, it was literally because I was just trying. I didn't want the last time I had a, you know, sexual experience for it to be have been like the things that it was. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it gets deep, I think, as well, with a lot of these issues that people have today, especially us modern women, because I get it. I think a lot of them, like, you want to make it go away. Now, it doesn't make it go away. I learned that very quickly, and it didn't take me long to see that it wasn't going to make anything go away. In fact, it makes it worse. And in fact, it makes you feel more like nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I also get where they're coming from. And that's why I can't just sit there and be so hard and fast, because I've been there. I've been in the situation where there's all this attention all the time, constantly, not just from in general, not just creeps. It's like all of the different types of guys, the best guys, the guys who are attractive, the guys who've got their lives together, the guys who look the way you want them to look. They're there, and they're pouncing at you and on you, like on you, like actually on you, since we're young. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was 13 having guys telling me on Facebook, like, oh, and I never lied about my age, by the way. I have never lied about my age, and that has never stopped people. Like, I can't even think of a time where I was in a scenario, and I think it's because it's obvious. Especially, think about if I'm a baby face now, right? If I'm a baby face now, think about how much more of a baby face I must have actually been when I was younger. So I don't believe that these guys who said that they didn't know how old I was, or they I look mature for my age, or am mature for my age. I don't believe that at all. Okay, I don't believe it. I barely get credibility as an adult now at 25, about to be 26 years old, right? I don't believe that these people would actually looking at me. I believe that they wanted to believe in that fake reality in order to be able to do what they were trying to do and take advantage of my innocence and whatnot and what have you. And I want to talk more about that in a separate video, because I actually bumped into one of the guys who was like that the other day, and I felt very uncomfortable, and it actually helped me to realize how much I've healed, because I would in the past would have been like so like happy to have like bumped into him and been like, yeah, look at this older dude, like, oh my gosh, yeah, I was talking to this older dude. And now I was like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, you're a predator. Like, I feel like I've just encountered my predator. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so there's all these different things, you know, and different just stuff that can go on in somebody's mind, and all these different trauma related issues, you know, that really protected me from becoming a hoe. But at the same time, they also kind of destroy the opportunities from, in a lot of senses, of me having a healthy relationship, because I was like, for the most part of my life, I really didn't believe any men genuinely wanted of themselves. They had an internal personal conviction of wanting to be a husband or a father. I did not believe that for the majority of my life, and I still struggle to believe it to this day. Like, I believe it more in the last couple of years, right? I didn't believe that. So again, I just thought guys are just out here just looking for women to sleep with. Like, we don't mean anything to you guys. We will never be valued by you anyway. We're just here for whatever it suits you guys. Bearing in mind, I also grew up, you know, come from an African family, an African background. So in Africa, like, the women that we see, like the women that we see growing up, like, they do absolutely everything for their husband, right? As much as you can do. You'll be at bridal showers, and I remember I would sit in these bridal showers, and they'll be telling the women, you don't say anything to your husband, you just do whatever he tells you to do. Like, the real patriarchy that these Western women are scared of, that's what I would be hearing, is the women being schooled in. And then these women will get married, lovely young women get married, they'll be doing everything for their husband, breaking their backs, cooking, cleaning, having the kids, working, whatever, and then he'll just be doing the absolute bare minimum and cheating and wasting money on all these other women, and they just say nothing about it, and they're expected to just be okay. And I thought, I literally, part of me was like, this is what I'm the most scared of. And I think that's also another thing a lot of modern women are dealing with, especially in the Black community, right? Is like, what are we? And I think a lot of other cultures, but I can only speak for the Black, specifically African community here. But I think this is true for a lot of other like countries out there where that's the expectation. It's like, why should I value myself if me valuing myself to create myself to be a wife is to become a slave? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just want me to be a slave, essentially. So that, like, if I'm going to be a slave, I might as well be a slave and get benefits off of it by, you know, sleeping around, and at least I get to be flown around all the time, and I can just lie in a guy's ear and just tell him whatever he wants to hear and do all the kinks he wants to enjoy and whatever, and I can have a way better lifestyle, versus you want me to be a wife and I'm now going to be a slave. I'm breaking my back just to see you going and you know, sleeping with some younger girl and doing whatever you want to do and spending your money however you want to, and I'm breaking my back with these kids, right? And I'm breaking my back, you know, trying to cook you 3 meals a day, trying to keep the house clean, doing the laundry, doing everything, right? And if anything goes wrong, the first person that gets blamed as well is me anyway, because like, why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you a good woman? You know what I'm saying? And so even just the concept of trying to attain that level of like becoming a good woman, there's so much of trauma attached to that, that does make it easier to just take the other option of like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna, if I'm gonna be a slave anyway, I'm gonna just be the slave the way that I want to be, because trying to reach to this level of expectation is super difficult. And that's how I feel even now. I've not even done as much as other ladies out there in the world, nowhere near, and I still feel like there are guys who are going to say, yeah, you we're going to get rid of you. Like, even though I'm like on the lowest end of the spectrum, right? It's like literally the only way I could be better is I'd have to just be a virgin. And listen, guys, do you know how hard it is as women today to actually maintain getting to that level as an adult person? You have to have had good parents, because it's the other thing, guys. There's a lot of, I've realized I was very unsupervised about a lot of things growing up. Like, whether it was on purpose or not, I don't know. But I was very unsupervised with a lot of things, and therefore that's what opened the door to these opportunities. So it's like, are we going to blame people because when they were 16 years old, nobody was ever home? Their parents always used to let them stay for weeks, for like a week at home by themselves in the house, and you don't think your kids having people being invited over? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there is so much protection. This is also why I don't believe in actually moving out until marriage at this point, because I think that living alone is just another trap of itself. And then again, it's one of those, when you realize, it will be too late type of thing. But yeah, so that's why I'm grateful that I almost had like my issues, the things that I endured as like my protection in a sense from seeing. Because listen, if I'd realized that I was coming across the way I was coming across, I could have been enjoying so many more benefits in this life this far. I could have been enjoying so many more benefits in this life than what people think people probably assuming that I have done, but I actually probably haven't. So anyways, guys, I'm just sharing a lot these days because it's that season for me where I'm just like, I'm just going to say what I need to say, because my truth, like I talk about this with God. Like, I was like, God, you know, I don't know what I should and shouldn't talk about, because I don't want to look bad, and I don't want to look bad, but I don't want to encourage negative things, if you know what I mean, by being honest about what I've been through. And he's like, but this is your story. Like, who needs more people pretending to be perfect? Who needs more people hiding the realities of life? We need more people who actually can speak up and be honest about, this is what I've done, these are my mistakes, I can't change them, I'm not happy about them, sorry. Like, because that's how I feel sometimes. I feel like, it's like when I hear certain things that the male community say, I feel like being like, I'm so sorry that at 16 years old I didn't know better. Like, I'm so sorry that at 18 years old, with no one telling me anything better to do, I didn't know better. I am so sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so sorry to Christian community to have for you guys to feel so so badly represented because I didn't know better. You know what I'm saying? But now I don't feel like that, guys. I feel empowered. I feel like the people need to know the truth. I feel like others out there who've been through the stuff I've been through deserve to know that not all of us got to where we got to today. I'm the level of person I am today, how, you know, wise I am and intelligent I am and capable and I am as a person. That's in spite of all of this. That's in spite of all the mistakes. That's in spite of all of that. And that's the real message. It's a message of victory. It's a message of like, I triumphed over pain. I triumphed over my mistakes. Like the Bible says, the righteous fall 7 times but get back up again. Like, that's God saying to us that it's not that this life we're expected to do perfectly the whole way. It's not that this life somehow magically we're going to get from A to... This is why I care so much about family, because I know the only way my daughter isn't going to become a hoe is if I find a worthy father for her, who's going to help her with me to grow her up in wisdom and in knowledge and protect her from this world. That's the only thing that's going to stop her, of course, and the Lord. You know what I mean? But that's why I care so much about family, because I realize that so many of these issues that we have in society today, the answer starts at the home, realistically, with a loving mother and father who I believe obviously are, you know, led by the Lord. So yeah, so that's why I'm happy to share. Also, I used to not say stuff because I know there's just people who are haters in my life who definitely also watch my YouTube channel, who are just looking for material to use to slander my name. My name has always been slandered my whole life, guys, and that's just another thing that hurts me. It's hard for me to talk about the positive. That's why it's hard for me to even talk about the fact that some people find me attractive, because people just slander me. Like, oh, you see, she's so in love with herself. She thinks she's this and she thinks she's that. And it's like, you're so far from the truth. You have no idea what you're talking about. I wish I had a 1% of that amount of energy towards myself that you think I have. You know, but nowadays I do, and it all came not because of people out there, not because of naysayers and trying to just go against naysayers, not because of hearing nice things from people, but because of establishing a relationship with God, and eventually just over time valuing myself from the inside and just falling in love with the idea that like I'm a piece of God's artwork, and like he decided to make me the way he made me for a reason. And as an artist sits down and is inspired and is intentional about every little detail, he did the same thing with me. And that is really like the most beautiful thing ever, you know. And that's actually why now I feel confident, and that's actually now why I believe, because now I think, when I think of guys being like attracted to me, I don't think, oh, is this guy attracted to me? I'm thinking, this guy is, of course, God, of course you're going to appreciate the artwork of the Lord. Do you know what I'm saying? That's like, of course you're going to appreciate the artwork from the Lord. He's the greatest artist of all time. So that's where I'm at with it now, and it's so much more grounded as well, because then I'm not out here trying to do things just trying to gain, because that was also a thing a lot of us ladies do, you know, hoeing about because we think if a guy's attracted to us, that means that's a good thing and we should therefore engage in sex, because if they have sex with us and then that's a good thing. That's also another lie out there, isn't it? So not falling into that trap, but just saying like, wow, I'm God's artwork. I'm like his precious artwork. I'm like the Mona Lisa as far as God's considered. I'm the Mona Lisa you don't get to touch unless you can afford. And I don't mean financially, I mean you spiritually, in your spiritual value. I'm talking about spiritual value here, not like financial value and all of that, right? Because if your spiritual value is high enough, all those things will become on top of it. And that's why the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added. Because when you seek God, God transforms you. When you become transformed, you and the person that you become unlocks the doors to everything. And then it's just this beautiful relationship between you and God, and you just loving each other, and you just loving him, and then him just loving you, and then him just blessing you, and then you just be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Father. And then it's just amazing. Anyway, I didn't expect this video to be this long, but it is what it is. Anyways, painted my nails in the midst of this video. Oh, you guys can't even see how cute this color is. You can't even see how cute this color is in the thing properly. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you've enjoyed it. Like the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Because if life's a game, then let's play to win. God bless you all. And I'll see you in my next one.